Buddy, why did you come by taxi? What happened to the Range Rover we gave you for your 19th birthday? Grandpa's voice carried warmth and confusion, echoing across the driveway as I stepped out, holding a small paper bag of his favorite muffins. Before I could answer, my mother's voice sliced through the morning air, smooth, confident, rehearsed. "Oh, Dad," she said with a laugh, "that Range Rover belongs to his sister now. You know how generous Ethan can be." Hi, everyone. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 22 years old, and that was the morning I realized my family could smile while stealing from me. Grandpa's expression faltered, the way a storm pauses before the first crack of thunder. He didn't speak, not yet. He just studied my face. And in that silence, I think he saw everything I wasn't saying. The truth was simple. I hadn't given my car to my sister. My mother had reassigned it for family balance. Her words. Apparently, my sister needed it more because she'd just started her new social media business, a venture funded entirely by my college savings. So there I stood, the eldest son, with calloused hands from part-time jobs, arriving in a taxi to visit the man who'd once said, "I'm building this future for you." Grandpa didn't argue. He just smiled faintly, eyes distant, and said, "Come inside, buddy. Let's talk." And that's when I knew something in him had shifted. Inside, Grandpa's study smelled like cedar, leather, and the faint trace of old cigars, the kind of scent that carried history. He motioned for me to sit, his cane resting beside the desk like a silent witness. "So," he said quietly, "your sister drives the Range Rover now?" I hesitated, but lying to Grandpa had never been an option.
"Yeah, Mom said it was better that way.
She handles the brand's PR and the car fits her image." He nodded slowly, his jaw tightening. "And what do you drive, buddy?" I laughed, though it sounded hollow. "Whatever the Uber app sends." His gaze softened with something I couldn't name, disappointment, maybe grief. Then he said something strange. "You know, Ethan, I once built this family business from a truck that barely started. I didn't do it for image. I did it so none of my children or their children would have to beg for what's already theirs." That hit harder than I expected. I'd never seen Grandpa emotional, but there was a quiet storm brewing behind his calm. Downstairs, I heard Mom's voice echoing, cheerful, fake, giving my sister a tour of Grandpa's new guest suite. "Make yourself at home, honey. Dad won't mind if you use his study for your shoots." Grandpa's eyes flickered toward the door. "Shoots?" "Yeah," I sighed. "She's turning his house into content." He smiled faintly. "Not for long." That evening, Grandpa insisted we all have dinner together. It felt formal, like a board meeting disguised as a family meal. The long oak table gleamed under chandelier light, and the air was thick with something heavier than tension, pretense. Mom kept up her cheerful tone. "Dad, you should have seen how amazing Lily's doing online. Her brand's going viral. The car really helps with that luxury image." Grandpa simply stirred his soup. "Luxury," he repeated. "Funny word. You know what I called luxury at your age, son?" he asked me, though his eyes were on her. "A working engine and a full tank." Mom laughed nervously. "Oh, Dad, times have changed." "Yes," he said, "but values shouldn't." Lily smiled sweetly, completely unaware of the storm she was sitting beside. "I'll take you for a drive tomorrow, Grandpa. The car handles beautifully. I even put my logo on it." His spoon froze midair. "You put your logo on a gift from me to your brother?" The silence that followed could have shattered glass. My father shifted uncomfortably. Mom tried to recover. "It's just vinyl. Easily removable." Grandpa leaned back in his chair, studying them all. "Some things," he said softly, "aren't meant to be removed. They reveal who we've become." He looked at me and gave the smallest nod, the kind that promised something was coming. Something deliberate. The next morning, Grandpa's driver arrived at my apartment before sunrise. "Mr. Cole wants you at the estate," he said, handing me a sealed envelope with my name on it. Inside was a single note, written in Grandpa's sharp handwriting. "Buddy, bring nothing but the truth. Love, G." When I arrived, the house was quiet. Only the low hum of ocean waves from the nearby cliff filled the air. Grandpa was in his office, papers spread across the desk, property deeds, trust documents, the works. He looked up with a tired smile.
Sit down, Ethan.
I'm rewriting something today. Before I could ask, footsteps echoed behind me.
Mom.
She barged in like she owned the place.
Dad.
What's this nonsense about lawyers coming by? You promised you'd rest. He didn't even glance at her. Rest is for men who regret their work. I'm fixing mine. She laughed nervously. Oh, come on, Dad. Over a car? No, he said calmly. Over a pattern.
She froze.
He folded a letter carefully, sealed it, and placed it in an envelope marked to be opened upon my passing. Then he looked at me and said, I built this family with my hands. But I forgot to teach them what those hands meant. Mom's smile faltered. Dad, what are you doing? He turned to her, eyes steel. Something I should have done years ago. By afternoon, the atmosphere in the house had shifted. The usual arrogance in my mother's tone was gone, replaced by an edge of worry she couldn't hide. Even Lily had stopped filming her morning mansion vlog. At 3 p.m., Grandpa's longtime lawyer, Mr. Harlan, arrived with a briefcase and quiet authority. He greeted Grandpa warmly, then nodded at me. Ethan, good to see you. I assume you understand why you're here.
I didn't, not yet.
But Mom clearly did. She stood near the window, arms crossed, watching like someone waiting for a storm she couldn't control. Grandpa gestured toward the large oak desk. Harlan, show them the revised draft. The lawyer opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Updated property allocations, new trust clauses, and a signature page with Grandpa's unmistakable initials. Mom's voice cracked. Dad, what are you doing? Making sure ownership returns to the hands that respect it, he said evenly. Lily frowned. Wait, what does that mean? Harlan adjusted his glasses. It means, Miss Cole, that certain assets gifted under family trust, including vehicles and real estate, are being legally reallocated to the original recipient. Mom's face went pale. You can't just. I can, Grandpa interrupted quietly. And I will. He turned to me. Buddy, do you still have your driver's license? Yes, sir. Good. You'll need it again tomorrow. That was the moment I realized Grandpa wasn't done yet. He was just getting started. The next morning, Grandpa asked me to meet him in the garage. When I got there, the air smelled like oil, salt, and something older, nostalgia. And there it was. My Range Rover, parked in the center, spotless, detailed, gleaming in the early light. The vinyl logo my sister had slapped on the hood was gone. In its place, a silver nameplate read, For Buddy. Earned, not given. Grandpa stood beside it, leaning on his cane. I had it towed here last night, he said. Didn't feel right sitting in her driveway. I was speechless. She came storming over when she saw the tow truck, he continued with a faint grin. Tried to block the gate. But the registration already reverted to your name at dawn. Legal transfer, signed, sealed, done. I ran my fingers along the hood. Grandpa, I don't know what to say. Say nothing, he said softly. Just drive me to breakfast. When we pulled out onto the coastal road, the sea glimmered beside us. Grandpa's window was down, his hand resting outside, catching the wind. You know, he murmured, it's not the car that matters. It's the lesson that comes with it. I glanced at him. And what lesson is that? He smiled faintly. You can't teach gratitude to people who think love is a transaction. 2 nights later, Grandpa invited everyone to dinner again. Same table, same chandelier, but this time there was no pretending. The mood was brittle, the silence louder than any accusation. Lily sat quietly scrolling her phone. Mom kept adjusting her napkin, waiting for a chance to speak. Grandpa didn't say a word until the main course was served. Then he laid a document on the table, the official copy of his updated will. I'm old, he began. Old enough to know when my lessons haven't landed. So I'm leaving one more. Mom's voice was sharp with fear. Dad, please, this isn't necessary. We're family. He looked right at her. Family isn't ownership, Emily. It's responsibility. And you've mistaken one for the other. He turned to Lily. You wanted image. You got it. But remember, image fades faster than character. Then to me. And you, buddy, you never asked for more. That's why you'll know what to do with it. Mom's fork clattered. You're giving him control? Over what? The estate, Grandpa said calmly. And every asset under my name when I'm gone. You had your chance to prove fairness. You failed. Lily's face drained of color. Grandpa rose slowly, leaning on his cane. Dinner's over. The inheritance lesson begins now. I looked across the table. The same people who once smirked when I arrived by taxi now stared at me in silence. But this time I didn't feel small. A week later, Grandpa passed peacefully in his sleep. The morning sun hit his window just right, calm, golden, unhurried, the way he lived his last days. The funeral was quiet. No cameras, no speeches about family unity. Just the truth, written in ink, sealed in the documents his lawyer handed us afterward. When the will was read, my mother's face stiffened, her hands trembling as each page turned. Grandpa hadn't left me everything. He'd left me purpose. The house, vehicles, and business shares were placed into a new foundation, the Cole Trust for Integrity and Education, with me as director. Mom and Lily would receive a fixed allowance, contingent upon maintaining honesty and contribution to the community. His words, not mine. I didn't gloat. I just listened, feeling the weight of what he'd done. It wasn't revenge, it was correction. After the meeting, I visited the coastal road one last time, parking the Range Rover by the cliff where he used to stand. The ocean was loud that day, but somehow peaceful. I whispered, You didn't punish them, Grandpa. You taught them. The wind answered softly, brushing through the open window. That night, as I drove home, I realized something he'd tried to show me all along. True inheritance isn't what's left for you. It's what's built in you. And as the lights of the city appeared ahead, I smiled, finally proud to carry his name.